Any minute now, we should have a brand new deep freeze arriving at our doorstep. This deep freezer has served us well. Actually, it's served both me and my husband's family well. My husband's family had this when he was a child, so this is probably over 30 years old. And I've been using it to store my garden produce over the last 10 years. But we really needed to upgrade. One reason is because it just had a hard time staying closed. And then it also didn't have any kind of defrosting mechanism, so it continued to build up ice, which not only wasn't good for what we had in here, but also it just was inefficient and hard to get things in and out. I definitely wanted a freezer that had an automatic defrost, and I knew that I just needed to upgrade to be able to take advantage of the freezer space that we have in the garden that we'll have next year. The first thing I did yesterday was I went through everything that was in this deep freeze. What I wanted to do is see what I needed to throw out. It's been 2 years since I've gone through this. Ideally, we want to go through it yearly before the new harvest comes, but I didn't make it last year. So there are some things that actually are 2 years old that I plan on continuing to keep because they're still in good quality, and I'll show you that. But there's some things that I threw out partly because they were freezer burned pretty badly, partly because I didn't store them properly, and I'll share all of that with you. But it also tells me what I have plenty of and that I really don't have to grow as much of this year because I have plenty in freezer storage this year. And because I haven't cleaned out the freezer in 2 years, I was also able to see which things were still good after 2 years. And it was a specific method that I used to freeze it that definitely allowed it to last for 2 years. So let me take you back to yesterday where I'll show you what I cleaned out of the freezer, what I decided to keep, and what got tossed. And then as soon as the freezer arrives, we'll show you what it looks like, and we'll start organizing everything in the new freezer and prepare for this year's garden season, having more freezer space to be able to freeze what we need to. With the new freezer arriving tomorrow, I want to clean this out and make sure that what I keep and I can throw into the new freezer, because this one's getting hauled away, that I'll be able to just keep what I want, and then I can organize it later. So I'm just gonna go through some of this stuff. I haven't cleaned out this freezer in 2 seasons. So besides the meat, which most of it I already got transferred, mainly I'm just gonna be looking at the vegetables for my garden. So first we have blueberries, and these are still good. There's some freezer burn on the top, but for the most part, these are just fine. These are actually from this season. So just double check and make sure. Yeah, those are good. I freeze blueberries whole, and they do fine for a year. So I've got some more here. I'll put these in blueberry muffins frozen, or I'll dry them and I'll put them in some kind of a breakfast bar. Next I have celery. This was a new thing for me. Usually I put the celery in plastic bags, but this year I flash froze them and put them in jars. And they've gotten freezer burn on them pretty bad. This is probably not something I'll do again, but actually the freezer burn isn't terrible. I could probably just scrape off the top layer and then use it. I also dehydrated some celery, so I'll definitely compare that as I need to, but for the fall garden I've had plenty of celery for fresh, so I really haven't had to dive into this. But I can see here just through there you've got some freezer burn in between some of those spaces, so I'm not going to be putting these in jars anymore. That was not a great idea. This I've already gotten into a little bit before my fall crop was ready, and you can just see all that freezer burn on that. So I'll probably stick with dehydrating celery or put them in vacuum sealed bags like I've done in the past. Next I've got some whole jalapenos. I can't remember if that was from this year, I think. So these I'll keep. I just freeze them whole, and then if I need a jalapeno for guacamole or something, I'll use that. So definitely keep those. Next I have elderberries. I think this was actually from 2 years ago, and I froze them whole. Whenever I get ready to make elderberry syrup, I will just take some of these and make elderberry syrup from the frozen ones. So these definitely keep. They're still good. Looks like that. More meat. So in this bin I've got, these are cubes of basil pesto. This has actually been my favorite way to freeze basil pesto. I used to freeze them in bags, but instead I put them in little silicone ice trays, and then I pop them out and then wrap them up in plastic wrap and put them in a zip top bag. So that definitely worked out well. Next thing I have is Tromboncino squash. This was from my Tromboncino plants, I guess 2 seasons ago, because I didn't grow them this year. And I froze them almost like a pumpkin puree for pumpkin bread. Haven't used it as much as I thought I would, but it's still good and it's vacuum sealed, so I can keep that. Next I have frozen carrots. This has got to be from, 2021, because I started growing enough carrots and keeping them in the refrigerator, so I haven't had to use frozen carrots anymore. But vacuum sealed, these still look fantastic. So keep them. Probably just should use them maybe in the time between harvest, but these are looking good. Let's look at this one. More Tromboncino squash, still good. That was from last year. Here I've got shredded zucchini. All of this looks like, all of this is shredded zucchini. And this was from last year. I had a bumper crop of zucchini and just shredded all that I could. And I vacuum sealed it and it all looks good. So I guess I need to make some more zucchini bread. Definitely don't need to freeze anymore until I use that, but I'll keep that. I have one more shelf. Down here is extra meat. I'll just put that in the new freezer directly. But I got a lot in these buckets. Let's see what we have here. This is some celery that was initially vacuum sealed, but then when I opened it, I put it in a Ziploc bag, and there's quite a bit of freezer burn. I think this was from 2022, so 2 years ago. I'm gonna toss that. Oh, we have broccoli. This was from 2021, and I haven't used it, mainly because I like to eat fresh broccoli, but this will be good for soups maybe in the winter, I forgot about, but it's good, vacuum sealed. Still 2 years later. This was another attempt I made, I guess, at celery in a mason jar. Not great. Not terrible. Might keep it just in case, but again, not gonna do that again. What do we have here? All right, this is cabbage from June of 22, and I did not vacuum seal it, and you can see how there's freezer burn everywhere. I'm not sure, honestly, that I ever ate any of this frozen cabbage. I had intention to, but we just tend to eat cabbage mainly when it's in season, in the spring and in the fall, and I just don't really see a reason to freeze it. Obviously, I've gone 1.5 years without eating it, so too much freezer burn. I'm gonna toss that. Okra. This was okra that I decided to try frozen, vacuum sealed in August of 22. This is looking pretty good. I probably should use this again. I actually just forgot about it, but what I like with the okra, once I get this out, is just roasting it, and it does pretty well. So I'm gonna keep that. Meat. Very, very freezer burned jar of red peppers. Not a good idea. If I freeze these in the future, definitely gonna vacuum seal them. That's worked well in the past, not the jar. Okay, this is stewed tomatoes from 2021. I'm not sure if that'll be good or not. Can't really tell. That's a little bit of freezer burn, but obviously if I haven't used it in 2.5 years and I still have jars of stewed tomatoes, I think I'm gonna toss that. More Tromboncino squash. Mashed potatoes. I froze these back in July of 22. I did try one of these. Nobody liked them, so we're gonna throw these out. No, these were just not good. Okay, I have frozen corn. Oh man, this was from September of 22, and I still haven't used them. I think I just forgot about them. I'm not sure how great they would be after a year, but they were vacuum sealed, so they don't look like they've had too much freezer burn. Maybe a little there, but I'll keep these, maybe use them in some stews. We've got more shredded squash, more shredded zucchini, lots of shredded zucchini and squash again. Now these were not vacuum sealed. I just put these in regular Ziploc bags. There's some freezer burn, but not as much as I would expect, probably because I packed them really densely. So I think I'll keep those. Those don't look terrible. Those actually look pretty decent, and I think they'd be fine in breads. Oh, meat. And we have more zucchini, but this zucchini is from this year. So it's good. Corn from this year. I need to use some more corn. I think this tells me that I don't use a whole lot of frozen corn for the future. More basil pesto, definitely use that. This is the vacuum sealed bag of basil pesto. This is what I used to use, and it's still fine. I like it, and it actually packs pretty well if you pack it flat, but I really do like the cubes better, so I think I'm gonna go with that. Okay, sliced onions. Haven't really used them, but they've done well in the freezer bags. This is from 2022, so these are over a year old. More squash, more zucchini, and oh, okay, so these are snap peas from the spring of 22. And they have a little bit of freezer burn, and honestly, we have not eaten any of them. This is another example of how I had every intention, like I didn't want to not save these, but we only eat snap peas when they're in harvest, fresh, spring, fall. So I'm gonna throw these out because obviously haven't used them in a year and a half. Next I have one of my fajita packets, it looks like, with red peppers and green peppers. And this obviously didn't get a good vacuum seal because we've got quite a bit of freezer burn. So I'm gonna throw that out. More zucchini. I did zoodles last year. Haven't used those yet. Not sure if I will, but I'll keep them just in case. These squash got too much air in them. Lots of freezer burn. Throw those out. It's not like I'm hurting for shredded zucchini and squash. And then these zoodles. Lots of freezer burn. Throw those out. All right, so I think I threw out everything I don't want to keep. I'm keeping everything that I want to transfer to the new refrigerator. So now we just need to wait for it to get delivered. Have to decide how I want to organize it all. The freezer just arrived. We ended up having to move it because where the other freezer was, we realized we weren't going to be able to get the attic down. So while we had measured the space for the depth and the width and the height, we didn't consider the attic. So we have it here, and my next step now is to load it. This is actually the perfect time to get a freezer because since it's winter, I didn't have to worry about the food being out for like an hour or so because it's still so cold out here. But it does need to go into the freezer. So let's take a look and see what we've got. Super, super spacious. I love this. Also stored some things in the inside freezer, some peppers and things like that. So I'm gonna go grab those, and that way I can get them in the deep freeze. I just grabbed some more frozen items from my garden from my inside freezer, and I'm gonna go ahead and put them out here just because I don't use them all the time, and we can keep the inside freezer for stuff that we access pretty regularly. So first, I've got some marinara sauce that I froze instead of canned toward the end of the season last year. And then I've got quite a few red bell peppers. It was a great red bell pepper harvest. These are sliced red bell peppers and then sliced green peppers. And I have some chunks for kebabs. And I did a few diced red bell peppers. Mostly I dehydrated these, so I have most of those in a dehydrated form. Definitely need to use these first because I don't have them vacuum sealed and they'll develop freezer burn quicker. Tomato paste, especially if I had just a little bit extra after my canning and I just wanted to freeze them, I would freeze them into little tablespoons. Makes it really easy to access if I just need a tablespoon, not a whole jar of tomato paste. I think I'll put that up here because I only access the elderberries like once a year, so I can put those more toward the back. And then roasted and chopped poblanos. I have a few of those left. We'll put it here. Here I have it, so much extra freezer space here for my garden this year. Since I'm not gonna be canning as much, I'll probably be using this freezer space more. And then if we end up deciding to get more meat in bulk, we'll have room to do that. The only thing I have left is I have quite a bit more ground beef that I'll move in here also. But this, I've got so much extra space here for anything that I harvest next year. I can't wait to utilize this, and having the alarm in case we leave it open. It also, in a power outage, is supposed to be able to last for a couple of days. We do have a generator if we need it, but that gives me peace of mind for sure, because that was always our biggest fear when we lost power, was all that was in the freezer, mostly the meat, but also what I worked so hard in the garden for as well. This particular freezer I got from Costco because I did a lot of research on best freezers and I knew I wanted an upright freezer, and this one in particular got a lot of great reviews. And from Costco I was able to get this large one, which is the biggest size that they make for home use. I got the large one for the same price that I would have gotten the medium size at a different retailer. So to me, I felt like this was a huge win. Costco delivered it to me for free, took my old one away without extra charge, and now Merry New Year to me. Now I can't wait to continue to use my brand new deep freeze. Quick tip before I let you go. Before you get started on your garden planning, go through what you have in your freezer, in your pantry that you've canned for the year or dehydrated, and that will help you know what you definitely need to grow more of next year and what maybe you need to scale back on. As you can tell, I don't need near as many squash and zucchini as I thought, and I'm definitely adjusting that quantity over the next year. This is a great way to give you an idea what you need to adjust as far as quantities goes on what you plant in your garden. I hope you enjoyed this look into my new deep freeze, and also give you some ideas on how you can freeze your own garden produce in the future, and also learn how to plan based on what you need and what you have plenty of. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next week. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos coming your way this season.